Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 5 of What If Naruto Was From a Demonic Clan with OP Abilities. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to check out the other What Ifs or the other channels. Yes, I need the 4 channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a lot. So without further ado or wasting more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now guys. So the last spot we left off, Naruto was back home. However, he was chained up. He was locked away in the dungeon as his hands and legs were chained up, and he really couldn't do anything as he lay there. However, he was not really upset about it. His mother said that she would lock him in here for a week, but she would break soon enough. It has been 2 days. As that got him to thinking about his clan and their origin. The Uzumaki clan was started from something very special. In the past, there was a woman that came to this planet, a being of unimaginable power at the time. She had 3 kids. 2 was born in white hair and 1 was born in red. He was different. Unlike the others, he could see things, feel things that they could not. There was a calamity and a war broke out between her and her 3 sons, and she was locked away. Yes, she was locked away. The history of this had been passed down throughout the clan. The red-haired child had made his way as he tried to understand more about himself. When he realized that unlike his brothers, he was able to tap into the spirit realm. This was different from the realm that they reside. A realm that was beyond and so vast. It was hard to comprehend. However, as time passed, he scoured the world. His brother had allowed the others to awaken chakra, something that he did not agree with because mankind was troubled as it is already. However, he did not say anything about this. He simply left, carving a new path for himself as he crossed the ocean, going to the place that would now be known as the land of the Uzumakis. He was not alone though. He had met someone. Yes, he met someone very special to him. However, because of his battle with his mother, he dived into something that he wasn't sure what it was at the time, but now the spirit, it wanted to take over his body and enter into the human realm. However, he kept it at bay for as long as possible. He even had a child. But the spirit had tried to take over the child instead because of, well, their bond. So he fought it. He made a deal. In the end, the both of them died. His son was the one that had stepped up and made a pact with the other spirits who wanted to experience a human world. Spirits were different. They have to be bonded to something or someone. So they were bonded to Uzumaki members. The island that the red-haired brother had went to had people over there that was different from the other world. And because of their gene and their makeup mixed with this new family, the Uzumakis were born. So, with every birth of a red hair Uzumaki with black markings somewhere on their face, they were gifted with a spirit to bond with, giving them unimaginable power when at full percent. The spirits were gifted into a way into the human realm, as the experience was what they desired. The spirit world was something that was just, well, they were in a state of death and living. And the pack allowed them to enter into this world, a part of a Uzumaki, something that has come to pass through time. As for their weapons, each Uzumaki was given a special weapon. It was chosen for them. Yes, they knew how to use other weapons, basically all of them, but a special weapon was chosen for them upon their spiritual bonding. Naruto got a blade. His mother had an axe. His brother had those knives that he used. His sister had a spear. These weapons can break through any weapons. His mother then came in there. She brought him out. Yes, she finally broke. His mother can be a bit sadistic sometimes. That is the reason why his father was not here. Once Naruto was properly dressed and back home as people started to greet him, the Uzumaki land was different from the Elemental Nation. They were just as big though. They had their own villages over here. They had police force, that is what they call them. And they were more technological. They had phones and all sorts of things. And the thing was, yes, crime was over here as well. And some Uzumakis were dispatched to handle things that were out of the police hands. But unlike the Elemental Nation, while the other villages are suspected to have their own leader, which they do, all of this land is governed by the Uzumaki. Yes, there has been people that try to break this rule in the past, but they always met the same fate. Yes, a brutal end. As Naruto went to pay his father a visit, his name was Yamamoto Uzumaki. He was the head of their clan. He had blades like Naruto for a special weapon, but he had two. The thing was, all Uzumakis could talk to their spirit that they were bonded with, except for Naruto. This made him feel like an outsider. Yes, he still get the benefits like the additional strength and speed, and also his spirit mode. However, for one to be truly bonded, one must have to accept their spirits. And that lead to speaking to them, but he has never talking to his spirit. His father and his mother had spoken to the spirits, and they did not know what the being inside of Naruto was either. It was something that they didn't understand, and this always made Naruto feel odd. That is why he chose to run away most times and just head to the Elemental Nation side. But he knew that they loved him, it didn't matter what. But his mother always treated him like a baby because of that. There was also someone out there though, someone that wanted revenge against the Uzumaki clan. A former Uzumaki. Someone that was very close to his family. That is why his mother wanted him to be cautious. As Naruto was heading back, he ran into his cousin, his favorite cousin Karen, as she would like to come with him on his next, well, skirmish outside the village. As Naruto figured that he could bring her to the Chunin exams for her to see. The fights in the Elemental Nation, it should be fun. But they would have to find a way to do that without, well, their parents killing them for just abandoning and leaving the place like that. As Naruto had the idea though. Meanwhile, Orochimaru was planning on invading Konoha. He had something special to use against Minato, the Edo Tensei. However, Rasa, the leader of the Sand, was getting antsy, and Orochimaru figured that he would have to kill him and take his spot, because the man was getting cowered down. Well, given who Minato was, but still, Orochimaru believed that he can do this. He was prepared and he was ready to bring Konoha to its knees. So yeah guys, the basic as we left off, you guys can switch across the play check of yourself, and don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs of the other channels. And yes, I indeed have 4 of them guys, link in the description, and don't forget to turn on the bell notification so exact when I post. So without further ado or wasting any more time, what do you say we jump right into this? Begin now guys. We begin this episode late in the night. There was a carriage. It was rather large. However, the back was basically a cage, shrouded by some curtains. Inside of the cage was several women, ranging from 15 upwards. Most of them had dried tear marks on their face to show that they had been crying as they were taken, captured, kidnapped, and they were being brought somewhere. At the front of the carriage, there was a man. He was pretty big, 6 feet, dark hair, dark eyes, as he had a cigarette right on his lips. He did not seem to mind what he was doing, or if he did, well, he was not showing it. As the carriage kept on moving, the hearts clattering their feet to the ground. As they went straight through a hill. Yes, the mountain hill. There was a passageway. The man brought out something and gave it to the person that was standing there, clad in a normal set of clothing, brown pants and brown shirt. The person nodded. He went through hand sign before he placed his hand on the side of the hill. As a passageway opened up, the large man commanded the horses to go faster, so they made their way. Inside of the carriage, all the girls, their hearts were beating rather fast, afraid of the situation that they end up in. They were captured and taken from their home, and now they will be sold as slaves. None of them had the fighting capability to get out of here, as they pray for someone to save them. Inside of that carriage there was also a girl, with brown hair and brown eyes. Unlike the others, she did not seem to be sad, nor did she have tear marks on her cheek. She just seemed rather calm. Unusually calm for the situation that she was in. She glanced over, she saw a 15-year-old girl who was once again on the verge of crying. As she taken her situation, as she heard the man outside talking to one another, the girls inside started to shiver with fear as the curtains were moved. Once they were moved, they were able to see where they were. There were a lot of them. A lot of men lying in the walls. They were talking and discussing amongst one another. The large man that had brought them here shouted out, "The new batch has arrived," he said. Cheers could be heard. They were cheering on this disgusting act. The brown-haired girl did not say anything, as she just watched the scene in front of her, watching it all play out. The large man got off the carriage as he asked, "Where's the boss?" "He will be here soon. Let me take them off your hands so they can get presentable." A man came around the side. He was tall as well. He stood at a taller height at 6'5". He looked towards the girls with a smile on his face, as he seemed to be checking all of them out. "Alright ladies," he said, "don't be stupid. This can go one way or another. The first one is you comply and come with me and you don't get hurt. Or the second one is," as he pulled out a kunai and held it up, as he licked the tip of it. Well, you can see where I'm going with this. As the man tossed him the key as he opened it, moving the iron bars. The girls were pulled out, some of them scampering away. However, they were all pulled out. The brown-haired girl did not make a fuss as she got out. The man looked at her with a smile. "I like you." Really calm under pressure. He grabbed her by the face, hoping to get a reaction out of her. "I think I'll have some fun with you first." However, her face expression did not change. In fact, she looked more bored. This pissed him off because she did not seem to fear him, something that he enjoyed. You know, if you're going to talk so close to someone, you might want to brush your teeth. Your mouth is disgusting, she said, as calm as ever. The man blinked once and then twice, as he wondered if he was hearing correctly. His mind set in as he whacked her across the face. She fell down to the ground, as the others scampered away. However, the other guys made sure they did not run. "Now listen here," he said. "Be as calm as you want, but don't you dare disrespect me like that, you bitch." He grabbed her by the shirt and pulled her to her feet. He placed the kunai right at her skull. "Do you hear me?" he asked, applying a bit of pressure. Hey, now what's going on out here?" a voice said. And it was the boss, a man that was dressed in all white. From a white hat going down to his white suit, he looked rather clean for a disgusting place like this. But he was the most disgusting because he was the boss of them all. He snapped his gaze towards the man that had slapped the brown-haired girl. "Raiko," he said, "how many times have I told you to stop?" causing bodily harms to the ladies. His tone was calm, but yet there was a sinister undertone underneath it. The other man, now identified as Raiko, looked rather guilty. But boss, I don't want to hear what she did. He snapped at his employee. As the man cowered down, the girl then spoke. Akamado, she said. The man in the white suit blinked at hearing his name. One of the fastest growing riser in the drug trafficking ring. Kidnapping from all over. Your scums are wandering all over the elemental nation, forcing people to do your bidding. Also, taking control of several businesses because you kidnapped the business owner children. Akamado was surprised to hear that. He looked at the girl, who looked at him calmly as ever. Now who are you and how did you... He couldn't get to finish that sentence as an arrow teared through his chest, destroying his heart on the inside. He looked down. He had no time for anything as he collapsed, the arrow fizzling away. All the men snapped their head around, looking around in panic at their boss just being taken out. Suddenly there was a poof on the brown-haired girl, her whole body going up in smoke. What came out was a male voice. I am not being the decoy again. This is my mission, a voice spoke up from up above. I'm the one in charge, so if I say you're the decoy, then you're the decoy, the voice said with amusement. Besides, it was fun. Fun for you, not for me. The man known as Raiko, who had slapped the brown-haired girl, was about to protest until his face was grabbed by a hand. He tried to move, but he could not. He thrust the kunai in his hand forward only for his wrist to be slashed off. He cried out in agonizing pain as blood started to spew from his stump of a hand that remained. Standing there was none other than Naruto himself, as he was under the disguise the entire time. He looked right into the man's eyes that had dared to strike him while he was in that form. He thrust his right hand forward as he hit the man 4 times in his upper chest. Before he turned his hand and plunged his hand forward, he then pulled his hand back and then hit him 1 more time in the lower part of his chest. The man's eyes widened in shock. His eyes turned blood red. Blood started to leak from his mouth as his heart strings were destroyed by Naruto sending chakra pulse through his chest. As the blood was backed up before, it had to go somewhere, his blood vessels popping. He collapsed down to the ground in agony, dead. Stay where you are, one of the men shouted as he grabbed a girl, holding on to her, a kunai at her throat. As Naruto counted the numbers, 35, he said. Someone landed right in the center. I know. It was none other than Karen, as she had her bow in her hand. Raising her hand, 3 arrows materialized out of her chakra, as she placed them on the bow and fired them in the sky. Before any of the men could say anything, they exploded in a bright light. Screams of pain could be heard. The girls were all blinded by the light. When the light died down though, every single man was on the ground, dead. Not a single girl was harmed. They were shocked as they looked around. Gratitude, relief, happiness on their face. As the bodies were not mutilated or anything, the arrows had disappeared after they hit their targets. Naruto walked over towards the boss as he pulled out a scroll and placed on the man's chest. And he was gone, absorbed into the scroll. Alright, he said. Let's clean up here and move on. Karen nodded her head. Time skip. Naruto's plan was perfect. How to get Karen out with him? By telling them that she was gonna help him on a mission where he would require her expertise. And that was true after all. 5 powerful business leaders had came to the Uzumakis, wanting their help. There was a man out there that had kidnapped their children, using them to have a hold over their business, involving ninja or speaking to any ninja in the vicinity would result in their children dying. Someone was watching them after all. The thugs, the goons that worked for these bosses. The man that was just eliminated was one of them. There were 4 others. Each of them kept one of the children of the business owner, and they were all in different locations, so it would be hard to find them for any normal ninja. But this was not any normal ninja we're talking about. These were the Uzumakis. Naruto had shown to be able to summon a bear and also a bird. Uzumakis did not have one summoning contract. In fact, these animals were not normal summoning animals, you would say. They were genetically created by the Uzumaki clan. Most of them being normal at first until they were infused with nature energy and also spiritual essence, giving them intellect and strength beyond any normal animal in the elemental nation. Passing normal summons, lands were created for them. A Uzumaki did not have a number on how much summons they could have. That is why Naruto had so much. However, the one they were using for this was the Hellhounds. They were a wolf at first, until the spiritual energy mixed with them, and the natural energy as well, giving them size, mass, and also vision and smell beyond any other breed of dog, wolf, or any other type. Catching a scent was like seeing it for them, and they could trace it. It was a good thing that all of these thugs made contact with the business leaders, so the Hellhounds could smell them. And thus Naruto and Karen had been going around, killing these guys, bringing their body back as proof, and rescuing the kids. The leaders all kept the girls and boys close to them, so the business owners would not revolt against them. Otherwise, their children's death would be guaranteed. It was a good thing that one of the business owner had reached out to someone that did not go anywhere near any of the villages. Instead, he went somewhere different. He went to the Uzumakis. And that is how they ended up in this predicament. However, they were at the final one now, as Naruto was going to use this as a good opportunity, so Karen could come with him towards the Chunin exams, and no one would ever be the wiser. So right now, as they face off against his opponent, Karen had made her way, as the boss had made his way off, fleeing away from Naruto, who they thought was the only one, but Karen went after them. The boss had a employee, and that certain employee was not a mere weakling like many others. His name was Reiga, a former ninja of the 7 swordsmen. Reiga had the Thunder Swords, aka the Kiba, in his possession, 2 powerful weapons that can generate electricity. He also had a high affinity for lightning himself. Yes, he was a very dangerous man. As Reiga looked towards the man in front of him, there was a smile on his face, despite seeing who his opponent was. Reiga was a very strange man. He most time wondered what was the meaning of life, killing without any remorse, and then crying afterwards. He was weird. And he loved to bury people. He says that when someone is dead, they don't judge you, so, well, that was one of the reasons. He was wearing a grey wooden mantle, with something strapped to his back, but Naruto did not pay that any attention. As Reiga spoke, "I have never had the opportunity to fight a Uzumaki before. Tell me, are the legends true?" Reiga asks. "Well, if you drop your weapons and decide to flee, perhaps you won't have to find out," said Naruto. Reiga chuckled at that. "I'm afraid my pride would not allow it. You might be a Uzumaki, but I am a former ninja of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Reiga, the Thunder Demon. I wield the legendary Kiba blades, the sword of thunder itself. You cannot win. Despite your Uzumaki heritage, you will fall," Reiga said. "Is that so?" said Naruto. "Well then, why don't you give it a try?" "With pleasure," said Reiga as he jumped back. Hidden mist jutsu. The place was already dark, as the mist completely blocked everything. As Naruto stood there though, unbothered by it all, when suddenly, a beam of lightning was rushing towards him, head on at blinding speed. This was lightning, a very powerful destructive element, tearing through everything in its path. about to make contact with Naruto until he held his hand out. There was a symbol on Naruto's palm. A swirl. It started to glow. The lightning was sucked into his palm. As Naruto's hand started to smoke, Reika appeared behind him as he brought the blade down. Despite the Kiba blades having electricity, they were also said to be incredibly sharp, that they could cut through anything. As Reika was about to end this in one quick strike, as he's never had the pleasure to take down and give a Uzumaki a burial before. However, before his blade could make contact though, he felt something. The surge. His own electricity. The chakra that he just used to release that pulse of lightning that should have killed this boy. But somehow he held his hand out and it vanished. He felt it surge. It surrounded Naruto's body like a cloak. As Reiga made contact, there was a violent discharge as the blade and the electricity that was released from Naruto fight for dominance. However, Reiga's blade was cutting right through it, showing how powerful and deadly the blades could be. As Reiga tear and slice right through Naruto, Naruto fell in two pieces. As Reiga looked down, disappointed, he expected Reiga pull his head back. Surprisingly really fast as Naruto emerged out of his shadow and slashed at him. Reiga flipped back as Naruto stood there. He raised the eyebrow. He did not expect him to dodge that. Reiga staggered back. "How are you not dead? I felt the contact. I hit you," Reiga said. As he flared his chakra, wondering if he was under some sort of genjutsu. However, nothing changed as he looked back towards the ground, where there was no body. What was that, he asked. "Sorry, a trade secret," said Naruto. "However, I'm surprised you were able to dodge me." "Well, as I said before, you might be a Uzumaki, but I am a former Seven Swordsman ninja." "No," said Naruto. "What?" said Reiga, as Naruto looked him over. "Oh, I see now," he said, as Reiga narrowed his gaze. Did he know? Reiga thought to himself. As Naruto shot forward, Reiga was caught off guard by the speed. One moment he was there and next moment he was in front of him, swinging a blade that appeared out of nowhere. The blade had a black hilt with a whirlpool design on it, with a silver blade. This was not Naruto's main weapon. His two blades were destroyed by Menma in their last battle on the bridge. So he got this as Naruto swiped at Reiga. However, each of his swipe, Reiga dodged each and every one of them. However, despite the situation, look, Naruto did not seem upset. In fact, he smiled. Reiga was confused by that, but he did not give any thought to it at the moment because this was over. Twirling, Reiga spun right in Naruto's defense as he ducked under Naruto's jab before he twisted his body. He then ended up right in Naruto's guard, his blade inches away from nicking right into his throat. However, to Reiga's shock, he was impaled. Reiga looked down as his blood was dripping on the ground. How's this possible?" he said. He staggered back. Naruto did not move as he watched him. You know, reading one bodily movement is quite unique. However, it is hard to read something that not even the user know what they're gonna do. "What are you talking about?" said Reiga. "The prediction that you had. That is how you escaped my slash earlier. Because the match between us should have been ended right there and then." "That is why I'm certain," said Naruto. "I found your secret." Reiga blinked in shock as he heard the voice behind him. He could not even move, as there was a scream before silence. Reiga leaped away, taking the thing off his back, to reveal a boy. His name was Ranmaru. Reiga had found him a long time ago. Yes, a very long time ago. And the boy had been with him ever since. The boy had a special bloodline from Kiri. It was similar to the Byakugan but different in many ways. He was the one that was feeding information back to Reiga The child had purple hair, and now his closed eyes were not opening. As Reiga was trying to wake the child, despite already seeing the fate that had befallen upon him. As Naruto stood there as calm as ever, time and time again Naruto has told people that he was not a good person, nor was he, well, he did not see himself as a bad person. If you stood in his way, you die. There was no going around it. He did not care who or what you are. He would kill anyone that tried to stop him from completing his mission. Anyone that tried to take his life. Their life would be ended, and there was no question about that. So he did not care for the boy that Reiga was using one bit. Reiga looked up. He started to fluctuate with immense amount of power. As Naruto felt the spark, he felt his skin tingling. Reiga screamed in a fit of rage. His whole body illuminated the entire darkness. Even the mist did not blot their view anymore, as Naruto stood there unbothered. Reiga gripped both of his blades and held them up to the heavens. Releasing chakra, thunderclouds started to form above them. "I'll turn you into dust," he yelled out, before he pointed both blades at Naruto, using them as a lightning rod. The heavens crackled. The sky started to pulsate with lightning before violent thunderstorms was released. Wind, breeze, it picked up violently. However, the most terrible one yet, after the thunder, was a lightning. Naruto leaped as the ground was destroyed. Another one, as Naruto did not touch the ground. Using pure raw chakra, he pushed himself back. Reiga appeared right in front of him though, his eyes glistening with electricity. As Naruto was still in mid-air, Reiga thrust both blades forward as the tip of them lit up for a single second before all the lightning converged on Naruto's point. Boom! A violent explosion ripped through the entire place. Not even Reiga was spared, because he did not care for anything at the moment. There was only one person that Reiga ever cared for, and that was Ranmaru. And now he was dead. Reiga was thrown back as he slammed into the wall. His shoulder was badly burned as he coughed up blood. However, he was not dead, as he struggled to get back up to his feet, as he winced in pain. That technique was something that he should not be close to when using it on an opponent. But he did, because all he wanted was for this man to die. He heard the rumors about the Uzumakis, but he did not care. He panted as he looked around. Laughter could be heard. It did not quite sound human. It sounded decrepit. Reiga stepped back in fear. Despite his anger, something just chilled him to the bones. You think your nonsense fit of rage would be enough to end my life? I gave you opportunity to run, but you did not. You're the reason why that child is dead. I do not care for you or who you find precious. I gave you a chance to stand down, but you stood and fight. Your friend and your demise are on your conscience. You thought by getting angry you would have ended my life. But you're sadly mistaken. You've started something that you can never finish. The result of this battle will be the same, like many others. This will end with your death. As the voice spoke, it got more sinister. Shadows started to creep all around Reiga. As the light around him was getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, not even his eyesight could see. So deep into the darkness. All the shadow then converged to one spot, as Reiga saw a figure emerging towards him, seemingly crawling and walking at the same time, its body twisted in horrendous ways. Reiga stepped back in fear, his legs shaking. His whole body was freezing up from utter fear, something that should not normally happen for a ninja of his caliber, but his whole body was in a flight or fight moment, and it was flighting. Fear was something that most people could control, but in this moment Reiga could not control what he was feeling. All he wanted to do was curl up in a ball. All he wanted to do was run, but his legs would not listen to him to get the hell out of here. And he could not move. He came to an utter stop. The world itself seemed to just rotate. Reiga was confused why. As he was now on the ground, not understanding what just happened. However, he could not keep his eyes open for any longer. What was this feeling? Why did he feel so cold? Was this death? He thought to himself. He had given so many people funerals before. He never thought what it would feel like when he came across that for himself. But how? How did he die? This made no sense. As Reiga, eyes closed forever, Naruto stood over his body. That was now headless. He looked toward the severed, confused head. As Naruto looked toward his blade, that was broken. He bought this blade. The iron was supposed to be strong, but yet it could not stand up to the full might of that powerful attack that Reiga just sent. He had to admit, that was quite something. He had used up a large portion of his chakra to summon that lightning attack. First he rained lightning from the heavens itself. Then he focused all that into the tip, summoning up natural lightning and pulling it towards you. Well, that was something alright, Naruto thought. However, it did not help that his blade was now broken. He was pissed off. First Menma broke his two blades, and now this was broken. He normally does not use his blade on his back, because that was his, well, special blade. As he did not use it for things that were this, well, beneath him. Reiga defeating him was never a possibility. And using the blade on his back would be like overkill. It would be like comparing an ant to a mountain. If he were to unleash that, the very release alone would end up causing too much mayhem. There was a reason why Naruto was always feeling like an outcast of the family. Yes, there was a reason. His cousin Karen could summon arrows, create them from her chakra basically. But the arrow was not special though. It was a bow. The bow was a special item. Same for Menma. Upon graduating, he was given two small blades and two pouches. The pouches were inside of his hood that he was wearing on that day. Once those blades had been placed in the pouches, whenever he removed a blade, another one appeared. Its chakra instantly creating another blade. It took so minuscule of his chakra that it would not bother him in the slightest to create countless, thousands of blades. The thing was, the bonding of a Uzumaki and their weapon, it was a spiritual moment. So there was a spiritual backlash in learning to control their special weapon given to them. Naruto also learned to control his. The thing was, it was getting stronger. His connection to his blade, that is. Every time that he used it, upon releasing it, the feeling, the chaotic energy that came out of it after using it was getting stronger. And that was because of his spiritual mode. Spirit mode, shortened for it. The thing was, a fused Uzumaki with a spirit could enter a spirit mode. In that mode, their weapons would be magnified. However, Naruto's weapon was always in that mode. He did not know how to turn it off. That was why he did not like to use it for casual means. Always going for something different, like buying a different blade, using a different weapon. When an Uzumaki enters spirit mode, their weapon and their aura change. Their chakra become more toxic. Their features change even more. When Naruto pulled his blade, he tend to pull in darkness, a lot of it. Naruto affinity was similar to what the Naras had. They used shadow, but his was darkness. However, because of darkness, he also had some compulsion over shadow. That is why he was able to exit out of people's shadows. Reiga did slice something, but it was Naruto's shadow self. He swapped places with his shadow. something that Naras could not do. His shadow also felt like it had a physical form, but it did not though. Upon entering into his shadow form, he could exit through other people's shadows once they were close enough. But shadow wasn't his main thing, it was darkness. And also the fear that came from said darkness. And sometimes it came out, without him even trying to, well, use it. Like a moment ago. Yes, he wanted to scare Rega for him to know that he picked the wrong opponent, but things went more than he expected. But he was a bit pissed because Rega destroyed his blade. So that was his problem. Because he had no connection to his spirit, he could not talk to it. He had a hard time controlling his spiritual energy. And it became too chaotic whenever he tried to use his weapon. And even worse when he entered his spirit mode. If he did not focus, he might lose control. But he had backup plans for that. His mother and father made sure. They had told him that whatever was inside of him, it was a spirit, but it was not one that any of the others were, well, aware of. Something inside of him, it was new. Not even the leader of the spirit realm at the moment that resided with his father had any idea what it was. So they had no idea how strong it was. So he had to be careful, very very careful, when he released that power. Hearing that explosion, Naruto glanced up. The hidden mansion where the man lived was on fire. The whole thing was burning. As Naruto watched, other parts started to burn as well as he made his way towards it. After arriving there though, as he hopped up into a tree, he saw bodies everywhere. Someone landed on the branch beside him as he sensed her coming. As he turned, it was Karen. Over her shoulder was a girl, the last daughter of the business owner. As Karen gave Naruto a thumbs up, as Naruto smiled at her, it was time that they head out. Time skip. Naruto and Karen had just wrote the letter, informing the Uzumakis that this mission will take a bit longer than usual. A couple of weeks tops. It seems they have more traffickers to deal with. They were doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. As said before, the Uzumakis were not bad person or good people. However, they did help if they felt like it. And they found some other traffickers. Which was true, but they had already eliminated all of them. But there was no need for neither of their family to know that at the moment. Kushina sat as she read over the letter that was sent to her by her son. As her eye twitched, did he take her for a fool? Even if there was some more traffickers, it would take him 3 days tops to eliminate all of them, given the way he described it as such a large quantity that he had to take weeks. He was doing it again, and this time he was taking Karen along for the ride. As she looked towards her husband that sat in his chair, well, he might be telling the truth. Kushina banged her hand on the table. "You are too easygoing on him," she said to Yamamoto, who looked at her with a sigh. She, being the one saying that when she always broke, whenever she said that she was gonna punish Naruto, but he would not say that. His wife can be truly sadistic sometimes. As he thought that he might help his son out. "Did he tell you that he made a friend?" Kushina looked towards him. "Yes. He told me that he met someone." "Well, I'm sure that he's just gonna visit that person while he's out there. Besides, he's not alone. You always want him to be protected. Karen is with him." She looked towards him. "How is that a protection? He's stronger than Karen." "Yes, but she too is a full-blooded Uzumaki. And she is strong as well. With the two of them together, they'll be fine." "And what if he finally shows his head?" Yamamoto got serious. He knew the wrath that he would bring upon himself by doing this. He's been good so far at hiding. I doubt that he will make a move against our son especially. Kushina sighed. "I suppose you're right, but that boy just does not listen to me." It's not like we're smaller than the elemental nation or bigger. We have a lot of villages. Why don't he explore those? Well, he does explore them. I mean, he did grow up here after all. He's been here for 15 years now. The elemental nation, despite him visiting a lot, is still away from us. But you don't see me going over there, trying to explore everywhere, she said. Well, yeah, but you know that Naruto has always been like this since day one. Kushina sighed. Most times she just got really riled up. But she just wanted to make sure that he was safe. And she knew that if Karen was over there with him, Naruto would make sure that she was safe as well. Karen was a little sweetheart after all. And if anyone tried to harm her in any sense of that word, well, they would be dead. However, there was a problem. What if he lose control? We've made precautions so that will not happen. And the seals will alert us. And I know that you personally will go if those seals go off. Of course I would. I would go to protect my baby boy, she said. Well, if he lose control, he's not going to be the one that needs protection. I guess you're right, said Kushner. I never got to ask. When he came back recently, you and him went to the spiritual shrine. What did you guys do? Well, I wanted to know if there was any changes, Yamamoto said. Is there? She asks. The spirit inside of him is still not, well, making contact. But it is getting stronger. And it's making Naruto just as strong as well. But we still have no idea. Because they have no idea. Kushina sighed. This has never happened before. Throughout all the history of Uzumakis. That's why I'm so worried about him. And I know that might make me seem crazy, but I don't care, she said. Yes, I know that you just want him to be protected, said Yamamoto. But eventually we will find out what the hell is going on. Until then, just let Naruto enjoy his time. He will be back here soon. And you can check up on him as much as you like when he does come back. As Kushina sighed, she finally relented. Or did she? 1 month. That's all he's getting, she said. As she walked away. One might say that she did not seem concerned for her other kids. But it was the opposite. Menma and Naruto's older sister had complete control over their spirits. Yes, complete control. And there was no possible doubt of them losing control. So she was not worried. She loved all of her kids. She might dote on Naruto a bit more than them, but still. She loved them all. She sighed she will have to go and inform her troublesome sister that Karen was also out there. She might be sadistic, but her sister was sometime crazy. Kushina of all person is saying that. So yeah, Karen's mother is a lot. Well, it runs in the family, it seems. Time skip. As Karen was on Naruto's back, as he leaped from tree branch to tree branch, making his way towards the Hidden Leaf village. She could have hopped herself, but he was faster even with her additional weight. As they moved rather quickly, everything was a blur. As Naruto was blurring through the trees, it did not take them too long to arrive towards the massive open gates that were open. It seems they were a bit late. Yes, it seems that way. As they landed, handling with those excessive traffickers took longer than expected, so they were a bit late. As they went up to the gate guards, meanwhile that was going on, she panted as her fist made connection with the wooden post once again. She twisted as she turned as she attacked the post with ferocity. Her attacks, her fists, showing how angry she was. Before she calmed herself, it was Natsumai. They were near to the final phase of the exam. The problem was, in the forest of death, something happened. Orochimaru of the Sun attacked the village. Her father had up security after hearing what happened. He also marked Sasuke. Her father had been studying the seal to try and remove it. However, Orochimaru's seal was special. There were certain components that, even though Minato was an expert in Fuinjutsu, well, it was hard to remove. Certain fail-safe that were problematic. At the moment, Kakashi had sealed it away. Sasuke was training. Today was her time off. She had spent the last couple of weeks training with Jiraiya. Her father had been rather busy with the whole Chunin exam fiasco, and also Orochimaru. Her mother had helped her as well. Her mother was a kunoichi before. She had settled down after all. She still had both, two totem in her eyes. As she now had full control over them, another push in the third one will awaken. She had faced off against a Kumo ninja in the preliminaries. Because of the pact that was signed a couple years ago, Kumo and Kano has been on stable grounds ever since. Her opponent was Neji for the finals, because of course she won in the preliminaries. She will face Neji. Neji was not a complete asshole like some of the other Hyugas. She believed that it was because of his father, Hisashi. His father was someone that she knew, as she had met him on a couple of occasions after her father and her went over towards the estate of the Hyugas. Neji was not that bad, but his determination to win was something great as her own. And she was not going to lose. She always wanted to prove herself. Well, this was it. This was where she made her mark by defeating the prodigy of the Hyuga clan. She thought to herself, Hinata might be strong, but Neji was on a league of his own. But she has been preparing for this, and she was ready. However, she was a bit disappointed. Well, more than a bit. She thought that her new friend would be here. He did say that he would show up. However, there was still time. The finals will be soon, but she thought he would be here before that. But maybe he would show up on the day of the finals. Or maybe he forgot about her. He was at Uzumaki after all. Across the waters, there was a completely other world over there. Completely separate from their own. He had his own things to worry about. As something flashed right in front of her, she blinked and stepped back. Sorry, did I startle you? She looked up to see Naruto standing on top of the post, looking down at her. As she did not say anything for a while. As he chuckled, did you already forget about me? He asked. No, she said. It's just, I never thought that he would show up. Well, I did promise I would. And I'm not a man that breaks my promises, he said, as he landed right in front of her. Sorry if I'm late though. As he looked at the wooden posts. You seem upset. Are you alright? That brought a smile to her face. He just always seemed so concerned about her. Which was just strange the first time they met. He encouraged her that she would be something great one day, and she would not be in her father's shadows. And even now he could see it, that something was bothering her. Just by seeing the, well, look of the posts. One might say that she was just training, but he saw through it. Well, it's been a lot, she said to him. Anything you can share, Naruto asked. Well, I suppose, she said. Not seeing if he knows about Orochimaru would be a big deal. After all, after what he did to Sasuke, he had fled from the village. So she did not see it as something that she could not tell him. Alright, but promise me, you can't tell anyone else, she said to him. I promise, he said. I won't tell a single soul. As she told him what happened, well, the forest part. As Naruto simply watched her as she spoke, and he just left Naruto ask. She nodded her head. Well, that's strange. Or perhaps he was just here for the Uchiha alone. You said you marked him, right? She nodded her head. Well, at least you're okay, and your team is fine as well. I've heard about this Orochimaru. Quite a dangerous person. Yeah, he is. He's one of the legendary Sanins. Yes, said Naruto. A traitor to this village though. However, I might be able to help you out. How so? I can get rid of that mark on the Uchiha. She blinked once and then twice. Really? She said to him. Well, I do specialize in Fuinjutsu. Oh yeah, that's one of the Uzumaki's specialty as well. But my father and Jiraiya tried to remove it and they could not. It's so complicated. Not to be down or anything on their skills, but in terms of Fuinjutsu, they have just barely scratched the surface. Really? She said to him. He did not make it sound in an offensive way, so she did not see it as such. Well, I can't really tell you much, but yeah, said Naruto. There were certain secrets that he could not give out, certain things that he could not say, certain technology and advance that the Uzumakis had that they were not brought over to here. The pact that was signed a long time ago allowed them to trade missions and do things for Elemental Nation, but there were certain things that they could not give them, or certain things they could not let them see. Dangerous and complicated things. So you really think that you can help Sasuke? Yeah, said Naruto. Before that though, there is someone I would like you to meet. Who? She said. She should be arriving any moment. You're right, a voice said. This is probably the best village out of all the 5. As someone landed as she turned, to see a red-haired girl. She saw the dots, showing the black markings in her face that she was indeed a Uzumaki. A thought crept into Natsume's mind. Was this his girlfriend? As she looked at her, suddenly she felt strange. A strange feeling that overtook her. She tried to ignore it, but it was there. She tried to shake it off, but it was just so intense. All of a sudden. Natsume, I would like you to meet Karen Uzumaki, my cousin. The moment he said that, the feeling vanished, like it was never there to begin with. Ah, so this is her. Karen stepped forward. Before Natsume could even do anything, Karen hugged her. Natsume was a bit taken aback at her over-friendliness. Karen pulled back as she placed both hands on the girl's shoulder. So you're Natsume, huh? I'm so happy to meet you. You're the one that Naruto has told me all about. Natsume glanced towards Naruto. You told her about me? Well, yeah, you are my friend, said Naruto. As her attention was drawn back to Karen. And now you're my friend, said Karen. After all, a friend of Naruto is a friend of mine. Yeah, sure, said Natsume. I can be your friend as well. Awesome. Now you can't wait, said Naruto. There's something I have to do for her. What's that, said Karen. Well, a friend of hers is in trouble, and I'm gonna help this friend of hers. How so, Karen asks. Time skip. Naruto stood in front of Minato, as Jiraiya was standing there as well to the side. Both men looked rather serious, as Natsume had spoken to them about what Naruto had said. Karen and Natsume was outside talking to one another, as Naruto was in there by himself. Despite the fact that he was staring down 2 legendary shinobis, he did not look afraid or intimidated in the slightest. He looked rather calm. So, you think you can remove the mark from Sasuke Uchiha? No, I don't think so. I can't do it, said Naruto. And how do you know that you can? Minato said. You have not even seen it, or know anything about it, and yet you have such confidence that you can. Well, not to toot my own horn or anything, but you do know that I am a Uzumaki, right? In terms of Fuinjutsu, there is no one like us. Yes, that is true, but you are rather young. Are you already that advanced in the art? Well, unlike Konoha here, Fuinjutsu was one of the main topics in our lessons. The way he spoke, he did not sound offensive, so Minato did not take it as such. He was merely pointing out something. Tell you what, I'm sure that you already checked the seal out. Why don't you show me a glimpse of your notes? And I'll tell you why you cannot unravel it. Jiraiya did not say anything as he just watched the boy rather calmly. Minato was quiet for a while until he pulled out a scroll and tossed it as Naruto caught it. Naruto unraveled said scroll as he saw the markings and Minato notes on the seal. As Minato just watched him, as he wanted to purge Orochimaru from anything even close, not to mention to his family. Sasuke was a part of his family after all. So he wanted to get rid of anything linking to that man, and the man as well. After a good minute, Naruto tossed him back the scroll. The reason why you can't get rid of it is because you do not have a way of completely removing a seal without triggering the fail-safe. You see, you came across something I seen in your notes that there is some sort of blockage, but it's not. Then what is it? Said Minato. It's a fragment, said Naruto. From the way you have written down this seal on this scroll, the parts all indicate that there is a fragment of a piece of soul inside of it. It was at that moment Jiraiya spoke. I knew it, he said. When I had examined Uncle's seal all those years ago, I knew that something was sealed inside of her. However, we could not get past the safe measures that Orochimaru placed on her, and the seal was in a poor condition compared to the one that Sasuke one was in. He was merely testing his seal. He had not hoped that she would have survived. So you're saying that this one is more reinforced, with his soul fragment inside of it? Exactly. But it's going to be harder to get rid of it with the new updates, and also triggers that were involved. There is a chance that Sasuke might die if it's not done properly. And that's where I come in, said Naruto. I can remove it. How? Said Minato. Sorry, I can't tell you that. What do you mean? Said Minato. We all have our secrets. That is something I cannot tell you. Look, if you don't want me to do this, then fine. It's not like I'm trying to hurt anyone in your village. I'm just doing a friend a favor. I saw that your daughter was upset about her cousin, so I figure I might help, said Naruto. Minato was not sure how to feel about what Natsumi did about telling Naruto about this. For years now, the Uzumakis have not involved themselves in village affairs. Yes, they help and they did missions, but they did not actively try to destroy or actively help out for no good reason. There was always a price, but he was here, asking for nothing in return. Once again, this friendship that his daughter and this boy has was bringing suspicion to him. He did not want his daughter being out there. She was already shadowed by him because of the man that he was, and to hear that she was tied with that Uzumaki, that would be just even more chaotic for her. However, Minato was stumped. He could not break the seal, and he's been working on it for a few weeks now, and yet he could not remove it. Orochimaru was up to something, and he did not want Sasuke to be the price for his ignorance. He knew how to unravel the seal, but the problem was the soul fragment was getting in the way. The soul fragment could trigger the seal in case someone was trying to remove it, and it would end up harming Sasuke more, and he didn't want that. Fine, I'll have you take a look at it, said Minato, but I'll be there to oversee the procedure. Well, I don't mind, said Naruto. Minato was confused by that. He did not want to tell him what he was going to do, and yet he would show him, as Minato was curious. But he would be there and see everything though, and to stop him if he goes a bit overboard. Sasuke would not come out of this harmed in any way. And as for the safety of Sasuke, don't worry, he will be just fine. I promise, said Naruto, as Minato simply gave him a nod. Now that that's over with, Jiraiya of the Sannin, said Naruto. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow as he looked at the boy, as Naruto fished into his cloak and reached around looking for something. Can I get the autograph? He said. Jiraiya blinked as he saw Naruto holding his book. Surprise, and also happy. A grin spread on the old man's face. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want something important to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. But I'm off now, see you guys soon. Peace.